There goes the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job. The Houston Astros, world champions.
If you are a baseball player, that is the ultimate dream, to be on the field and win a World Series. If you are a baseball broadcaster, the voice you just heard of Joe Davis, well, that is the ultimate goal, to be on the call as a team wins a World Series. Welcome to Crafting the Call. I'm Josh Suchon, voice of the Albuquerque Istopes.
And I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler with the Lansing Lugnuts. We heard the end results, but what I'm fascinated by, Josh, is the process that leads us there. And so to that end, we're going to go right to the source and bring on the Potterville Viking from Beloit College, a great quarterback and an even better broadcaster. Joe Davis, how are you?
I'm good, Jesse. Josh, great to be with you guys.
Not sure how much you might remember this, but we want to immediately get into a call back from when you were first starting broadcasting your career. We're going to listen to this, and then we're going to go through some of your more famous calls now.
2-1. Gregorius strokes a line drive to second. Put by O'Malley. Game over. A diving catch to preserve the win. That ball shot up the middle. O'Malley lays off his feet. The Spirit with a backhand.
So that was 2012 when Joe was broadcasting for the Montgomery Biscuits. Joe, when you hear yourself and you see that play, what immediately comes to mind about where you were at that moment in your broadcasting career and where you hoped it would go?
Yeah, that would have been the first thing is you guys dug up some old bodies there, huh? You went deep to grab that. I hate how it sounds. I'm sure, like any of us, if you go back 15 years, whatever that is now, not going to like how it sounds. That stage of my career, that was my third year in Montgomery. I was really lucky, always have been really lucky, I think, guys, to, for whatever reason, have a pretty clear vision of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to ultimately do. So when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to do pretty much exactly what I'm doing right now. So that right there, the opportunity in Montgomery right out of college was one that was right in line, just kind of completely aligned with the dream, the big goal that I'd always set of doing the World Series, being the voice of a network, being the voice of a team. And I looked at every game that I had there in Montgomery and still try to look at every game I have here in LA as a chance to get a little bit better at it. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the job. I'm kind of a striver by nature, always trying to improve and like kind of a self-help junkie. This is a good job, I think, to have when you're wired that way, because really you're never going to be perfect. And there's always something you can find to get better at. So those games in Montgomery, that was like a lab for me to try and get a little bit better each time. I would go so crazy in Montgomery. I would get out a notepad and I would transcribe my innings. I'd, either write them down or just pull up a Word doc and transcribe the innings and find areas where I could get rid of a word, or it would help me identify where I was redundant or just using too many words, or maybe could add more. So just I was as fine with it as I could be and as creative as I could be, coming up with ways to get a little bit better each time.
Before we get into these big recent calls, Joe, describe for me, what do you want to have in front of you? What's to your left? What's to your right?
Not a ton. I like to have a pretty clean space. I use the score sheet produced by the press box. So in the majors, you're always going to have that. I would assume in most minor leagues, you're going to have that as well, where you can count on a template that's pretty much going to be the same anywhere you go. I used to fill out my own book, like I think most guys do, but I just found that that's busy work. Like, by not doing that, it frees up so much time to go down to the field more and ask questions and maybe to study something else. So I use the sheet that gets printed out by the press box, and I put some notes on there and everything. I actually have a bunch of those here. So here's, for example, This is Game 7 of the World Series here this year. It's the one that's on top. Some of the notes. I don't put a ton on there. So this sheet is the only piece of paper that I really have in front of me. I've got my computer off to my right. So we try to I sit here. Smoltz or Oral sits here. And we have our monitors in between us like a V shape. So we're both looking in the same direction, as opposed to our monitors. I'm looking here and John's looking here. How are you supposed to have a conversation that way? So we have our monitors in the middle. I've got that sheet there. I've got just a little tent made of paper that has the defense on it sitting up between basically my paper and the field. So my line of vision goes from the monitor where I'll watch the pitch to when the ball is put in play, my eyes come up to find the ball. And I've got the defensive chart basically in that line of vision. And then, like I said, my computer, which has a bunch of my notes on it. I use Microsoft OneNote. So that's kind of the digital landing spot for all my prep. And then, like I mentioned on the score sheet, that's just, that's more time sensitive notes, like what I want to introduce the guy with, if it's a 12-game hitting streak or something like that.
When do your eyes go back to the monitor as you are calling a play?
Usually not until it's over, until it's between pitches, or between, I guess not between pitches, but between outcomes. Although there are instances like catches at the wall, home run robberies, where I'm going to have a lot better chance to see it on the monitor than I am with my eyes looking out, 400 feet away. So, and it's almost, guys, hard to even answer that for you because I don't think about it. It's just intuitive at this point. So I don't necessarily have a formula. I think I do have a formula, but it's so ingrained now, it's almost hard to verbalize it to you.
All right, well, let's get into some of the more famous calls that Joe has had. We're going to primarily focus on the last 2 years since there has been so many. And so let's begin by going back to the day that Shohei Ohtani, out of all of the days that he amazed us, this might have been at least the one in the regular season that amazed us the most.
Dodgers 3-3 on this trip, a chance to clinch a winning trip, a winning series, and a postseason spot. Ohtani smokes this ball to right center field, off the wall. And it's a screamer of a double to start this ball game. There they go, throw to third, beats him, but he got his foot in. The 50th for Ohtani.
The accuracy of the slide.
All right, I actually want to pause right there, Joe, because I want to go back to that. You said the throw beats him, and then I really liked how you were able to transition about the slide. When you hear yourself again on that call, and I can probably rewind it here, what goes through your mind as you hear yourself on that call?
Yeah, I think just especially when history is hanging in the balance here, like it was with Ohtani on that day, going for 50-50, you want to make sure that you get every little detail right. And of course, you always want that to be the case. But, I guess I'm proud that in a case where the throw does beat him, where he's usually going to be out, I wasn't fooled into leaning towards he's out. I think that I called it like I saw it. And then my reaction was genuine, and that I was surprised that he was still safe.
Start this ball game. There they go, throw to third, beats him, but he got his foot in. The 50th for Ohtani.
The accuracy of the slide.
That's a base hit to right field. Ohtani's 2 for 2. Muncie's headed for the plate. Conine's throws cut off. How about 50-50? How about 51? Into second with a stolen base. His second of the game already. Slashes his third hit of the game into the left center field gap. Looks in to score. Here comes Pages. Ohtani heading for third. Relay is in time. Just shy of finding himself a home run shy of the cycle after 3 innings. The 0-1 pitch. Ohtani sends one in the air. Deep right field. He's in a world of his own. In 135 years of Dodger baseball, Shohei Ohtani, his 49 home runs, matching Shawn Green for the most in a single season. Homer for history. On a 1-2, Ohtani sends one in the air. The other way. Back it goes. Gone! One-of-a-kind player. One-of-a-kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Let's pause there. Jesse, jump in with a question.
No, Joe, what do you think when you listen back to this?
Yeah, no, I'm proud of that one there. I very much, I can like draw for you how I think calls should be structured. Like I could literally take a pen and make a picture of what a proper call is like. And there's examples for me in the last year where I hated my calls because it didn't fit that structure. This is one where I felt like it had everything that it needed to, in terms of timing. And you want to punch the call. And I think there's then an appropriate amount of time to lay out based on the roar of the park. Sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it's going to be less. A lot of that is home versus road. This case was a little bit different because everybody in the park was cheering for the road team. But there's a timing element to it. There's a certain set of things I think that it needs. Like I mentioned, you need to punch it. I think you then need to come back and add more context if necessary. And ideally, you're going to have something in there that makes the call stand up and is beyond just telling you what happened. It's wrapping some context around it. And I think that this call, I'm satisfied with the way I did that.
Joe, let's stick with that idea of the diagram, because you start with the punch as you were describing it there. Where do you actually think the call begins?
In the setup, I think before the pitch. I don't remember what I said on this one, but I think that there was probably some kind of setup there. The great ones are where you anticipate something happening and you set it up right before the pitch, and then the guy, it's as if he's in on the joke. He's in on the plan with you and knows that you've just set it up. That happened for me in the 18-inning game in the World Series this year on Freddie Freeman's walk-off. Right before the pitch, I had said the time, and it was right before midnight. And so I was able to incorporate that into the call. You're totally at the mercy, obviously, of the guy doing it at the plate. But when that happens, when you take a chance like that and it happens, that's magic. But yeah, I think it starts with the setup before the pitch. I think you always want to be out of the way of the pitch, because I think that's the most common mistake that I hear when I listen to young broadcasters. It's that they get lazy with them. They may appreciate that they got to get out of the way of the pitch, but they don't fully appreciate it, and they get lazy with it. And I tell them, like, if you're talking over the pitch, it does not matter what you do. You have no chance, if that ball's put in play, to nail the call. You can be good, but you can't be perfect. You're going to have to speed up. And as soon as you speed up, you're screwed.
When did you first, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
When did you first start putting the player's name in right before the pitch arrived?
I think it's something that I heard Joe Buck do as a kid. And Joe was, for me, the guy that I listened to the most and stole the most from.
All right, let's continue on with Ohtani's 50-50 day.
He achieves history with a one-day rampage. Rubbing your hands together. Certainly smiling. We all are watching this guy. Oh, my gosh! Shohei Ohtani! The greatest day in baseball history! This is not real life. He is not human.
At a certain point, when you and Oral are just laughing, right? Yeah. Take us into the booth and maybe what you and Oral are, the nonverbals you guys are giving each other as you're watching this and describing this.
Yeah, jaws dropping. And I think this is a good example, guys, of, like, it doesn't always have to be structured science on a call. It's probably at its best when you're just kind of throwing your hands up and having fun watching the game like we were at that point. So I'm definitely guilty of being too rigid and, like, trying to be too perfect. But I think when you can kind of, like I say, oh my gosh, that's not a call out of broadcasting school really. But I think that's what everybody sitting there watching the game was saying. So sometimes I think when you throw your hands up and just kind of let it happen like that, it can be good in a different way.
But again, all the talk about the superstar at the top of the order. These guys, these former MVPs themselves, a lot of chances funneled to them. And the bases will be loaded here for Freddie Freeman with the Dodgers down 3-2 and down to their last out in game one.
Well, the good news here for Dodgers is Freddie Freeman doesn't necessarily have to do anything but get a single and jog to first. But beating something out in the ground will be limited because of his ankle.
Now, the kind of at-bat that every kid that plays baseball dreams of one day having. You tell yourself, right, all right, bottom of the 10th, bases loaded, World Series, one-run game, Dodgers, Yankees. Reality for Freddie Freeman right here. Taylor the tying run, Edman the winning run. Cortez delivers. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Gibby, meet Freddie. Game one of the World Series. As it was on an October night 36 years ago, a hobbled game one hero for the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman with a walk-off grand slam to win game one of the World Series 6-3 over the Yankees.
Unbelievable. Went up there looking for a pitch. He got it. There's just no way to describe. I mean, there's just no way to describe it.
Would you say you don't believe what you just saw?
Yeah.
All right, I wanted to play the extended clip because I wanted everyone to hear Joe's setup with John Smoltz before, obviously the iconic call of Gibby meet Freddie, and then the long layout, and when it then becomes appropriate to add different elements. Joe, when you listen back to that full extended clip, what do you analyzing in your mind? What are you remembering and feeling from that moment?
It's cool. It's like for Freddie, like I mentioned in the actual broadcast, that's the moment that every ball player dreams of. And for us, that's the moment that we dream of, right? Being in that chair when that happens. So as Freddie connects on his moment that he's always dreamt of, he'd help me do the same. And, I've getting to cover the Dodgers. It's a gift in many ways. One of those is that they seem to do something like this like once a week during the regular season. So I get a lot of practice calling these big moments, but none of them bigger than that. The only walk-off grand slam in World Series history. I don't know if I will ever. Ever is a long time, but it's going to take me a while, I think, before I fully wrap my mind around what that moment is and where it stands in baseball history. I think the same thing thinking back to the World Series we're just coming off of this year. It's not possible for me. I'm still too close to it to have full appreciation for how wonderful that was and how all time that was. So A lot of things, man. I was actually on that Grand Slam call really hard on myself in the hours after it. Like I was happy with it and thought that it was good and appreciated all the praise, but I worried that I should have saved the Gibby meet Freddie line like Vin saved in a year of the improbable, the impossible has happened. That came way after she is gone. I wondered if I should have had the same structure to my call. She is gone, and then that layout that you mentioned, and then Gibby meet Freddie. Just because I worried that the Gibby meet Freddie thing was talking over the loudest ballpark you've ever heard. Even though it was only 2 or 3 seconds of the call, I worried that I had stamped on the moment and gotten in the way of the moment. But after worrying and losing sleep over that and being hard on myself, I think I came to think that it probably belonged there. And I don't know that the call would be what it is without it having been included right there, especially in this clip or in this day and age of short clips and the internet and short time span. Nobody's ever going to come around and spend 35, 40 seconds a minute waiting for that Gibby meet Freddie call. So I guess in this day and age, it's okay that it maybe came right away where I'd lost some sleep thinking I maybe should have waited.
How many times before had you said she is gone? That's Scully-esque.
I don't know if I ever had, Jesse.
See that little touch, that's beautiful. And then the Gibby meet Freddie, to insert that in, to my mind, it's good that it's not a direct parallel, that this is a tip of the cap, then it's your call, and then it breathes before. Now that I understand your parabola, I'm going, okay, when Joe comes back, here comes the context. And there was context immediately when you came back.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I think there probably is something to that. And John and I had the Dodger. We had the National League in 24. So we had watched every game along that journey and seen him hobbling around. And it was easy to think about, my gosh, could he have his Kirk Gibson moment at some point? And then this is game 1 of the World Series, which is when Kirk Gibson hit his hobbled home run to beat the A's. So it lined that up even further. So I think if you weren't making that connection in your head, you weren't paying attention. So that was there as a foundation. And then the flight of the ball was so eerily similar to the clip we've all seen 1,000 times that's what came out. It was as if the flight of the ball knocked that into me, that there was nothing else I could have said.
I'm not just saying this because you're on our show right now. But I think that you said it at the right time. Gibby meet Freddie. I like that you said it at that time. Fun part for me is that when I watched that, I did not get to hear you. So it wasn't until later that I got to hear the whole call. And I thought that it was just fantastic. I'm curious but just that phrase, Gibby meet Freddie, did that just come to you exactly in that moment during the intentional walk of bets? Did you start to think about 88, or where did that phrase come from?
Yeah, it's not like I had it written down, sitting there, in front of me. I think that I just go back to the fact that we had kind of been primed for that moment for the whole month. And me being the Dodger guy for a decade on the job, knowing that that's what this would mean if he were to do something. I think it's one thing to know those things. It's another thing to have the philosophy of always leaning forward and anticipating it happening. And I think that is something that, being the Dodger announcer for 10 years of them being so good and having so many late amazing moments, it's trained me to do well. Always anticipate the moment happening, because I'm not smart enough to just have it happen. Right. And like people say, oh, you can't script calls, and agreed, you can't script calls, but like that's a kind of a blurry line too. What, we're supposed to not think about it? We're supposed to not think it's a crime to it's a crime to think about what you're going to say if something happens? Like, no, at least for me, I've got to at least be starting to think, if this happens, what does this mean? And then it's almost like I get all the pieces by doing that. I get all the pieces and then hope that when the moment happens, it's easy to kind of put them together and have a coherent puzzle.
I mean, it's a headline. That's what we're
Yeah,
supporting.
for sure.
It's caption for the picture. It's headline for the big story.
And that's our job. And so to sit there and, again, I go there, like there's this negative connotation around the idea of scripting things. And again, I don't want to use the word script and have people think that I'm sitting there writing stuff down or coming into the game with stuff. But you're certainly, I think you're doing, it's like negligence to our job of capturing these moments and headlining these moments to not at least be leaning forward, thinking about if this moment happens, my job is to give the headline. I better be thinking about what that headline's going to have in it. You don't have to have it scripted. I didn't have, okay, if he hits a home run here, I'm going to say Gibby meet Freddie. But I sure as hell knew that it was going to have something to do with the two of them being connected. I didn't have any, oh, sweet balloons. I did that. It was going to have them connected. And, the thing that was really cool was, like I said, the flight of the ball inspiring the Vin thing. Because that part I'll be honest, that part did just come to me. I wasn't sitting there saying, hey, if he does this, there's a connection with Kirk Gibson. And hey, the Dodger announcer Vin Scully was on the call that game in 1988 on NBC, and I ought to pay homage to him if this happens. That part sort of just lucked into.
Let's watch the flight of a different ball, Josh.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Joe, we're going to get to your call of the George Springer home run from the ALCS, and I read in the Athletic that you did not like it. So let's go back and listen to it, and we'll kind of break down different thoughts, and then we'll get into the World Series clips here.
I hated it, so let's do this. It's this therapy session.
Last night, with the Mariners chasing that game from behind, that included facing Springer. One more look at him. The 1-0 pitch. High fly ball. Left field. Arozarena. Watches it go.
If you had that call to do again, how would you do it differently?
I would not make the focus on the guy watching the ball go. So here's George Springer hitting one of the biggest home runs in Blue Jays history, certainly one of the biggest home runs of his life, and he's hit some big ones. And I didn't read the ball great in Toronto. I don't know why. I think that was part of it. And I'm reaching into my desk here because I'm pretty sure in here I gave, handy journal, right? Moleskine journal. I'm pretty sure I have in here like a reflection on why I hated that and what happened. But yeah, on a basic level, that was the problem with it for me, this moment was about George Springer and my call was focused on Arozarena watching the ball go.
How often do you journal?
I don't have a system. I'm not like every morning I journal. This is, as much as anything, it's a planner. But then I'll go back, like anytime I read something, any kind of quote or thing that I want to keep, I'll put that in here. And then anytime I feel like I need to process something like that, I use journaling for that.
And then how often will you go back and look at those journals, either whether it was positive, negative quotes? Is it once it's written down, it's done, or how often do you like to go back and take a look?
Yeah, I will. I guess it's separate things. There's the journaling, and then I'll do critiques, very specific critiques of my own stuff. And I try to do that during the regular season, once every week to 2 weeks. During the postseason, I'll do it on each travel day. I'll go back and just kind of calibrate with where I'm at. And that's very specific to like, okay, how's this coming off? What basically, like, I'm sure you guys have given hundreds of critiques to younger broadcasters and vice versa. We all, as we came up, got critiques. I do that to myself, and I'll bring that sheet of paper with me into the next game. to know what I'm focused on and to know the things that I need to do to be better than I was in the previous games. The journaling process is more just get it out of my head, flesh out the stuff that I'm wrestling with. That said, I will. So if I, God willing, get another game 7 in here, I've got one, two. Just giving you guys a window into what a nut job I am.
Kindred souls, Joe.
1, 2, 3. This is a 4-page reflection on Game 7. And a note card. I don't know what that is. For if I get into that situation again, what I want to be better at. So I have different processes and no real system to it. I guess the system is knowing that that's kind of how my brain works, that, when I need to flush stuff out, I go to a journal like that. And the more systematic thing would be the critiques that I do throughout the season and throughout the postseason.
All right, let's get to the 18-inning classic from this past year's World Series. We have a few highlights from that one that we will get into and break down those.
Continue, but it's a safer landing.
Hernandez drills one, left field, forget about it. Dodgers strike first in a loud way. Comes back in, it's lifted to deep right field, towards the corner, goodbye! Ohtani goes deep. And the Dodgers lead Game 3. Breaking ball, drilled to left center field. Pages going back. He's at the track. He's at the wall, and it's gone. Kirk has changed Game 3 with a 3-run shot. Team in every sense of the word. Here's Jimenez driving the ball to deep center field. Pages is going back. Feels for the wall, makes the catch. Plenty deep enough to score Barger. Throw to second. Dive, and he's safe. Who fires a payoff? A breaking ball is drilled to left center field, slicing towards the gap. Off the warning track, up against the wall. Hernandez headed home. There is no throw. It's a ringing double from Ohtani.
But he threw a lot.
Down the line, a fair ball and a tie game. Freddie Freeman comes through again. Locked at 4.
This time,
Bichette down the line, a fair ball. Ricochets back into play. Teoscar Hernandez scrambles after it. How fast can Vlad run? Throw to the plate. Play at the plate. He's safe. He scores from first.
thing.
Ohtani. Oh, and a center cut fastball. Blast one. And ties it. Shohei. 5-5. Down the line towards the corner. It's a fair ball. Schneider on his horse. Hernandez picks it up. Schneider's headed home. Relay from Edmund. Play at the plate. He's out. Draw tries one more time. Bouncing ball to second. Edmund hurries. Over to first in time. High drive to center field. Varsho's going back. Onto the track. Just enough for home. Through to Will Smith. High drive, left center, Will Smith, no, falls just short. Hernandez drives one in the air to center field, Varsho's going back, and again it dies on the Los Angeles. Freeman sends a fly ball to center field, Varsho's going back, before the clock strikes me, Freddie Freeman has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
All right, so we got 3 minutes worth of some of the biggest plays there. The first question that I would have for you, Joe, is you do not have a set home run call, and we've heard a wide variety of the ways that you have described home runs, and I'm wondering the challenge that it is when you're not just saying gone or out of here in terms of finding the right words for the right moment for these home runs.
Yeah, I think that every home run is different. So that's just always kind of been my idea, that I don't want to put my thing on to a unique home run, that each home run, each play calls for its own thing. So that just kind of basically a philosophy on that. And the challenge of it is what I love. I think that if you're putting, that's another drawback to putting a call on each home run, it knocks that challenge out of it. And that's what I love about the job. It's what I love about life, is finding challenges and finding ways to be better than you were the previous time. So that's a woo-woo way to look at why I don't have a home run call, I guess.
Joe, this is 18 innings that you're bringing your fastball from the start, because this game begins with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
You've got highlights early. You've got big plays throughout where you're getting big to match it. How do you take care of your vocal health?
Oh, it started to go. It really did. There were a couple things that started to go as that game went on. It was, people have said, like, wow, it was amazing that you maintain your energy and everything. I'm like, okay, look, I would pay you for the right to call that game. So yeah. I'm no hero to have energy calling game 3 of the World Series here. That said, I think, like, as humans, we can only focus for so long. And so as this game becomes 3 hours and then 4 hours and then 5 hours, I was having to just kind of like shock my system. Okay, dude, this is the greatest thing ever. Wake up. You got to like snap back in and focus, just because your brain starts to turn off after that long. So yeah, I definitely had to do that. I was proud, though, of the way that we kept up the energy. Yes. But I think too, in World Series games, things are so tense and serious, right? Like everything is on the line. Rarely do you get to just sort of be yourself in World Series games and postseason games, period, because you're not throwing your hands up and having a good time. We kind of had no choice. As this game went on, we both got a little delirious and running out of room on our score sheets, eating fruit in the booth and everything. So it was a special opportunity for me to, on a World Series stage, hopefully still do the big moments justice, but have no choice but to let myself come through a little more than I normally get to on those games.
My favorite call out of all of those highlights we just heard was the one where Vladimir scores. And when you said, how fast can Vladdy run? Mm-hmm. What's your take on your call of that one about how fast can Vladdy run?
Yeah, I've used that one before. I think my first year with the Dodgers, Ross Stripling was pinch running at first and scored on a double. And I used the line, how fast can Ross Stripling run? And I think I said fast enough as he crossed home and won the game. So that was going back to the well a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. Joe, this has been a blast, just sitting down, chopping it up, and talking broadcasting shop with you. Thank you for taking the time.
I really could do it all day, guys. I nerd out over this stuff. So thank you for having me on, and I get a joy out of this too.
I can't wait to start journaling myself during the 2026 season.
Love it.
I mean, it's everything that goes on behind the scenes that leads into what people hear. It's the same way that hitters go into the cage, or the pitchers spend their winter working, and then you get to see what happens in the season, all those side sessions. So here we go. But the results are championship stuff, man. So
Jesse.
For Joe Davis, who last year won a Sports Emmy Award, by the way, for outstanding play-by-play personality. And we'll see how many more Emmys are coming your way. And for Josh Suchon, the voice of the Albuquerque Istopes, I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler, and this has been Crafting the Call.